5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are now live on the 5th. Is it the 5th episode?
It
The
is.
Go There Do That podcast. So I heard that the average podcast doesn't last more than 5 episodes. And so if we finish this episode and post it, we're officially average.
Nice.
Yeah. And this is the 5th episode. We're talking about Alaska. It's part 2 of our Alaska series. We may or may not get to part 4. We'll see how much we talk about here because we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So, first off, I want to say a very special thank you to Cheryl. I'll let Heather actually do that, but who is Cheryl and why are we thanking her?
Cheryl is my mom, and she is like kind of our biggest fan and supporter, like with all of this. And I'm sorry I couldn't be in last week's episode, but I hyperfixated and started a organizing project. And Ethan like called out a lot of people. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. Called out people who have been listening and supporting the podcast, and he left my mom out. So, yeah, she shouldn't be left out because she is kind of our number one fan.
Yes, she did
So-
text. She texted.
Yeah.
Said, I have officially listened to all of your podcasts and
Every video you've ever made.
all your videos. I don't think I've even done that.
Yeah.
But she said, just saying.
Yeah.
So
she gets her own episode of gratitude.
we'll thank other people later.
Yeah.
But yes, the 5th, the most average episode where we're breaking above average. This episode's dedicated to Heather's mom. So, okay, what are we talking about? Alaska visit number 2. So what would compel some human to not only go once on a cruise, which we talked about in our last episode. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But what would compel somebody? What compelled me and you specifically to go on another trip to Alaska? And what was different about this one? What inspired us?
Well, I don't think it takes too much convincing for someone to want to visit Alaska again because it's just incredible, beautiful, but it's also so vast. So I feel like we went on the cruise and it was amazing, but we were kind of left wanting more. You know, we didn't get to really do a lot of inland things. You just kind of stop and go. So we really wanted to dig in, and we specifically missed out on like an opportunity to see Denali National Park, and that was something that we just like couldn't let go of. So when the opportunity arose for us to take another trip, it felt like we needed to go back and do Alaska justice.
It's like those T-shirts that you see everywhere. The mountains are calling, and I must go. This was Denali. The mountains in Denali were calling, because we've heard right on the cruise. It's like, have y'all been to Denali? Have y'all been to Denali? And
I
it's
know.
Like, what is that?
I was like, dang it, I missed out. Yeah.
Because the cruise just took us on the coastal line, and I don't know if you know this about Alaska, but it's very large.
Pretty big, yeah.
It's very big. So there's a lot to do. It's worth a second visit because you're never going to do everything that you want to do.
Yeah.
But the how is next. You know, like what this is. You can be inspired. You can be wanting to go, but like what actually got us there? And I'm going to point the camera. If you're listening, it's Heather. That's how.
I am the how. Yeah, so with this trip, I planned it all by myself, which I did with the cruise as well, but that was kind of like pretty easy. I just kind of picked a cruise and picked flights. This one was a lot more extensive with planning, car rental, where we were going to stay, what we were going to do, where we were going to go. So it was way more work than the first time, but we had done Zion before that. So that was like a 5-day kind of quick trip. So I kind of had some practice with like planning that kind of trip. So yeah, I think I started with just the days, like the time frame we were going to go, how much time we had to work with. And then from there, I figured out where we were going to go. So Denali was priority. But since we were there, I also wanted to see Kenai Fjords because it's not crazy far distance away from Denali. And then everything's still kind of close enough where you can fly in and fly out of Anchorage because that's kind of the easiest place to fly in and out of. And it's cheaper to fly in and out of one place and not two different places.
And Kenai Fjords is a 3-hour boat ride from Seward. And that's also where we took off on the cruise. So we went back to Seward on this one.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not going to elaborate right now just yet.
Yeah.
But we didn't really see, I guess we might have passed,
We literally got off the train.
Well,
the first time when we were on the cruise, like we just got off the train and onto the boat in Seward.
right.
Yeah.
But on the cruise ship, like we passed sort of like
Kenai
maybe
Fjords.
parallel, but it was
Yeah.
more inland, right? We just
Right.
sailed like further away.
I don't know how close it would be able to get with all the fjords.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's So we weren't like close. There's no
Yeah.
way we could have seen it, but
Yeah.
but that's where he took off from.
But the after I figured out like where we were gonna go, then I figured out how we were gonna get there. So when we went to Alaska the second time, we did planes, we did trains,
Helicopter.
we did buses, we did helicopters, and we did a little bit of driving.
Did you say boat?
And boat, yeah. And
a bus
we
ride.
had a bus. So basically, like every mode of transportation you can do, we did. So we really only had a rental car for like 2 days when we were first in Anchorage. And then from there, I just kind of planned out like bus rides. Surprisingly, public-ish transportation in Alaska is actually pretty easy to navigate. At least like the touristy kind that is meant for this. O'Malley's getting comfy and probably just stuck his booty in the
He did
frame, but
a little.
he's just like staring at me now. So yeah, and then we stayed at a couple of different places that I researched, and yeah.
So I will add, one mode of transportation we did not take was dog sledding because it was in the summertime, and
They offer it. They offer like funsy.
Yeah, you can go pet a
like
puppy.
That. Yeah, you basically get to go hang out with huskies and Alaskan Malamutes.
Yeah.
But
if I'm not getting from my cabin to my hunting grounds, then back to my cabin, I don't want a dog sled. I'm just kidding. That's people in Alaska do that, but I did. Just a quick story. Did talk to a guy who had it was like something crazy, like a 500-mile trip with dog sledding on the bus. One of the bus rides we had, but I talked to this guy and he said he did a dog sledding trip across Alaska with him. It was him, his wife, and then another couple who lived in Alaska.
Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah.
Yes. And he was getting. The wife had passed away of the husband, so him and his wife were going to see them again. But, unfortunately the wife passed away. But legitimate dog sledding journey, like he had all kinds of crazy like survival stories. And it's like, how are y'all even here right now? He's like, I don't know, it was a fun time though.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the end, even though they had like crazy weather. So next I have written down is Weir.
Oh, so like the trip.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So, where did we go on this trip? Just a quick
synopsis.
Yeah.
So we flew into Anchorage and spent a few days there. From there, we rode the train to Denali. And then we flew further into Denali to
Kantishna.
So we had to, it's like 90 miles into the park, so we flew there and we stayed a few days there in Denali. And then we rode a bus back out of Denali and we stayed a night just like in a hotel outside the park. And then we rode another bus to Seward and spent a little bit of time there. And then we rode a boat to Kenai Fjords. And then we rode the boat back, And then we rode a bus back to Anchorage and then left home.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of different ways to get around. We did kind of what was easiest for us. Well, you planned it out, so you thought of that. So we will start talking about Anchorage.
Okay.
So yeah, where did we go in Anchorage? We went
back to Moose's
the
Tooth.
Moose's Tooth again. Yeah.
And yeah.
And this is okay. So just keep in mind, we are now into full on go there do that documenting territory. So the cruise a little more detached from that because we had just taken photos and it was a cruise. It was also in 2019.
Go there do that wasn't a thing.
Go there do that wasn't a
either,
thing.
yeah.
I didn't even have memories before go there do that. But now I document like a lot of the things we do, and these are probably where I hit my stride in videos. It's 3 of them. Yeah, the first one covers Anchorage and the glacier.
The glacier, yeah.
Glacier walk. Oh man. So that's where we're at now. If you're somehow following along, watching the video, or if you're going to watch the video after this, that's where we're at now. And so I say we were cruising and perusing, and that's when we went to Moose's Tooth. And we went to I can't remember the park name.
Yeah.
But
it was like a state park area. Oh, and we went to that one like regular park.
That's the one.
And we were just like walking around, and I had put on bug spray because we'd been to Alaska once already, and so I kind of knew.
There's a couple mosquitoes there.
Mosquitoes are, whew.
Once all the snow melts in the winter, the mosquitoes have
a lot of moisture.
Yeah, a lot of moisture sitting around, a lot of places to lay eggs, and it's I'll just say probably the worst part.
I've never seen mosquitoes like I've seen them in Alaska.
It's like a chronic annoyance.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
But only in certain places. Like it's not everywhere all the time. It's just certain places where they breed. So
we were definitely in one of those breeding grounds in Anchorage, and if you watch the video, one of their so they have a playground that we found, and there's literally like a part of the play place. Like some places have dinosaurs, some places have I don't know,
cute
cars to ride in. No,
Yeah.
they have like a giant like mosquito, like a part of their
blood coming out of its
eyeballs, and that's just for children. That's a municipal park, whatever. Like it was. They recognize how mosquitoes can be there, so they kind of just embrace it, I guess. Because what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
They're a menace.
Yeah.
So yeah, that actually turned us around on that trail.
Yeah. We went back to.
Chugach? Wait, no. Chugach State Park.
Like, that's
I remember
where we went.
that was where we had gotten a view.
But it's so huge. Like we pretty much just pulled off and looked at it.
Massive. Yeah. It wasn't much to look at because we were just hanging out because we had the glacier walk scheduled. Yeah. And so
that was something that I really did regret not doing on the cruise. So I was like, if I was going to go back and do the cruise again, I would have done a glacier excursion because that was offered at several of the stops. And so I was like, I have to do that. Like out of all the things that we're going to do, I want to see Denali and I want to do the glacier helicopter tour. And so that was something that we kind of like splurged on in Anchorage. The company we used was literally called like Alaskan Helicopter Tours. And yeah, we got to experience Knik Glacier.
Yeah, and so keep in mind our last visit to Alaska, we just got to observe the glaciers. We felt the atmospheric change. Like it is so cold when you are near a glacier, but we wanted to, walk on one, and that's what we missed out on, and that's I was so excited for. It's like literally the first thing we did.
Yeah, I
Going
was like,
there.
how does it get better than this? Like, how do we top that?
Yes.
Because it was the first thing we did.
And it gets better. And so the pilot was really cool. I remember. He was so. You're not. This is a trick that I've learned as a videographer person who travels and tries to stuff everything into one bag. I managed to fit. The technology is so great now. I managed to fit a gimbal for like steady shots, a drone, and a regular like video camera, all in one little purse bag,
Yeah.
and I stuffed them all in one spot. And I would manage to bring a drone on this, which is a big deal for the footage because going back to the pilot, who was really cool, he was super chill about like flying the drone and everything. You had like 15 minutes
Yeah, at each
stop. So that was a little. It wasn't stress. I'm having fun this entire time.
Right.
But it was just super cool to be like, okay, I have this long for a drone flight, and then I have this long to get footage, and then he's walking up with a piece of the glacier, and he's explaining to us why blue is the color of glaciers.
Yeah.
So I have footage of that actually too, but enough of this footage. I'm just going to describe to you. I know you're not watching it right now. But he brings up a piece of the glacier, and as it melts, you can see it turn white, because the white is the air bubbles. Blue is the main color of glaciers because over the course of the millions of years, they're around they're around a long, very
A
very
while,
long time.
yeah.
Yes. I didn't think you believed me when I said millions of years.
I do.
But yeah, it's so compacted together that blue is the only color that can make it through, or blue is the only color that's trapped in it. All the other colors make it out. But it's very strange to me
It's
that
the only one that's refracted.
yes, like certain colors enter and certain colors stay. It's very weird to me. Like, just say it's magic at that point.
Yeah.
But that is why they're blue, and I know I didn't give the best explanation, but it's because they're ancient and magical. So
Basically, yeah.
first, we had 3 landings.
Yeah, the first one was like you could just kind of see a part of the glacier from afar. Still so beautiful because like you have all the glacier like chunks just floating in the water all around you. You can like touch them, like pick them up. It's just that was incredible too. But it wasn't even, it was like only the beginning.
Yeah, you're not even like, it's kind of similar, like a, ground level
Yeah, similar
experience.
to like the cruise.
Similar, but you could, I mean,
Way closer.
He pulled one out of the water and showed us. So the second one was on this hilltop.
It's a mountain, but
Well,
yeah.
yeah, sorry. I call everything in Texas hills.
Yeah.
Because I've been to Alaska and I know what mountains are now. But yeah, we landed on it, and this was really, really cool. Again, I got the drone up, and that's pretty special. But Heather, it might have been one of your first times you wander off. As far as I can remember. Remember, you like just walked super far away, and it's like you knew how much time we had, so you're like,
Right.
I'm just gonna go way over here. And we had this giant like vista of Knik Glacier below us, and you could see how it carved out
Right.
like this mountain. Like it's literally made its own valley.
Yeah.
Because over the course of years, just crushes it on top of itself forever. But yeah,
You could see just like how huge it was, how far it stretched. Because most of like on the cruise and like on the first stop, like you just kind of see like the front of the glacier. So you're just like, wow, that's really cool. But you don't understand how huge it is
Right.
and how it just like sprawls on and on and on and on.
Yeah, it was just miles in
Yeah.
one direction to your right, and then miles all the way into the mountains to your
Yeah.
left, and then it starts to fade away because it's just like
Yeah.
snow and
But I wandered off because I saw this little like snow patch,
Mm.
and I wanted to see what that was all about.
Finally, after all the, well, it's been a year and a half. I've been wondering what you go off, you went off to look at. It was a snow patch, but from my angle, I couldn't see. Like it was like a dip, and you kind of disappeared for a minute.
Yeah.
But that was super cool. But the best part, so we landed on the ground level, like at the end of it, where it's breaking apart and washing up on shore, and then we landed like in above it in the middle-ish area. And then the third landing is on top of the glacier. So this is probably one of the coolest. I mean, you say it. I remember you saying it. This is the coolest thing I've ever done. Like
Yeah.
because you land on top of it, and he's like, "I need to sit here for a second." The helicopter goes, shh, and yeah, he's like, "I just need to make sure that I don't skid around because
because you're like ice. On a glacier." Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally ice.
Yeah.
And
we had to get out one at a time.
yes, because of the balance and all that. It could be wobbly. The helicopter could literally just slide down. And we were parked on top of this little bit of an incline, and then it like sloped down into like a pool.
Of water, yeah.
Yes, and it was like the deepest blue ever. Like it's like a new color we saw.
Yeah.
And so the ground was like really super crunchy. Like it was just walking on like the crunchy ice, and then there's some little black brownish spots where like sediment was, because it's.
And you did say like it would hurt. It would hurt if you fell.
Oh, it'd like slice
it's all
you.
Little crystals like spikes.
That's true.
And so it's really crunchy as you're walking, but if you were to like fall, like it would like slice your hand.
Yeah, very jagged. That's right. That's a little bit of a danger.
I focused very hard on not falling.
Yeah, because if you fall, you're gonna stop and catch yourself. I mean, I don't remember. I probably wasn't wearing gloves.
You probably weren't. I'm sure I was. But
yeah, but still. But we were going down and around to this bigger pool, and then we decided to drink the glacier water.
Well, he said we could. Like, it's safe.
I mean,
it's like
it's not
what you do on the helicopter tour.
It's the purest water
Yeah.
you probably ever drink.
Yeah, so I filled up my like refillable water bottle, and yeah, like it was. I mean, water is like water, but it was different. Like, yeah, the purest form of water.
Do you think the context? So the
yeah,
context
I'm
matters
sure
a lot with water, though. Like a
Yeah.
Dasani bottle tastes weird, but like when water is like super cold, almost to the point of freezing, but not
Yes.
quite. It's very
Like
refreshing.
refrigerated water.
But this was refrigerated
It
by
was.
the earth. So like imagine cold water tastes different, but like refrigerated water tastes different versus just plain frozen water. And I don't know if it for all the hydro homies out there who stay hydrated. I've seen a meme once, and it said, "Does
You
anybody
don't have to
tell?"
explain to me. It's fine.
taste
Sometimes
of
you
water.
say things that miss. It's fine.
Well, it doesn't miss for those who are hydrated out there.
Okay.
So, anyways, very cool, very awesome. I just wanted to linger on that moment a little longer of drinking the water, and best ever. And then that was it. It wasn't really that long of a helicopter tour.
It is weird, like, talking about these, like, moments because they are, like, in video form. And so it's just, like, I feel like I'm talking about it, but it's, like, not doing it justice in the way that, like, your video does. So it's, like, we could linger on that moment a little bit longer, but, like, I don't have the words to describe how incredible like that moment was, and exactly how the water tasted and all that. But if you are interested, then yeah, the video does a lot better job of explaining that in real time.
But even the video wasn't even like half as cool as like doing the real thing.
The experience, yeah.
just cutting it up into fractions every time I do
Yeah.
something else with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool.
We also made like a friend because like on the helicopter tour, 3 people go, and so plus the pilot, and so it was us two, and then this other guy. I cannot think of what his name was
Was it
right now, but
Steven?
Stefan, maybe. Yeah, that sounds right. And
Maybe.
he was really cool and nice too.
Stefan was the name of the paragliding guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I did remember his name, but he was really cool and nice too. So that was fun, like introductory experience to our second time in Alaska and like doing this thing that we regretted not doing the first time. So like that was a really important thing too because it was like it's scary to like have regrets about doing something like, oh, I wish I would have done that, and then be like, I might never ever have that opportunity again. Shucks. And so it was a really powerful moment to have that second chance and be able to do the helicopter tour. So if you do go to Alaska, just splurge on the helicopter tour. Like, I promise that it's worth it. Like, it just is. And I read about that, and I had heard about that when we did the cruise, but I was like, ugh, I don't know. But it's true.
Yep. You heard it here. So, I don't know. Okay. So the people interaction that we had at Moose's Tooth is what I was thinking of.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Because we were waiting in line. It was like kind of a long wait. And then these 2 people approach. And I know one of them shared the same name as the guy we rode in the helicopter with.
You're right.
Yes. Still don't know. But
yeah.
they were very nice, though.
Yeah.
They
Well, I think we were like,
under a heat lamp.
yeah, and it was cold and we were waiting. I can't remember if we were sitting down.
We were.
And then we were like,
And then
they were kind of standing around.
I think I asked them.
You're like, you can sit with us.
Yes, because they were like.
Because everybody was waiting for like hour and a half to get this crazy, amazing pizza. Yeah.
So I invited them over, and then we just started to get to know each other. And then they said which church. It was a good, excellent conversation because we learned more about what it's like living in Alaska.
Yeah.
And he was talking about going to Knik Glacier, and they would ride ATVs up and then jump on the ice glaciers. Like, I don't know. That's what they did for fun.
Yeah.
Because Knik Glacier is like an hour and a half drive or something from...
If that. It might have been like an hour.
From Anchorage. But anyways, super nice. At the very end, they're like, yeah, we go to this church down here. And they're like, we'll pay for your drinks. And they like handed us money. And then they left.
Yeah.
And
like they wouldn't take it back.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
It was just like and like we don't live there. So they were like, we go to this church, but it was just like a cool experience because you don't get that all the time. Like, where it's like
just pure charity.
Obviously, like, we're not going to go to your church because we don't live there. But they still, like, even after knowing that, they still wanted to do that and like show that generous spirit. So obviously it did stick with us a little bit.
Well, we just remember the money, not their names or the church. So I'm just kidding, but we'll remember.
Yeah.
And then we'll thank them on an episode.
Yeah. It just takes a little more work to get myself in that mindset to remember. Yeah.
Yes. But they did give us $20.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was just really cool.
They were probably like, oh, these poor sinners drinking beer, waiting on their pizza.
The point is, though, really cool people, and it was just like it was very pure interaction.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're never going to come here again, whatever. Like, see you later. We just want to give you
But
this.
that was like the theme of the whole trip. Like, just like time after time, we kept meeting like the most authentic people. Yeah. So we'll talk more about other people later, but yeah.
Well, coming up next, because we're basically done with Anchorage.
Yeah.
And we rode a train to Denali.
We did.
Okay,
yeah.
and so if you're following along in the video, this is the beginning of chapter 2. But it starts with the train ride, and it was obviously like very beautiful, but it was also super long. I remember.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's like 3 or 4 hours.
this is where I met the.
Do you
Goodness
remember?
gracious!
Do you remember? Because so we rode a train from Anchorage to Seward when we did the cruise.
Yeah.
And I had assumed that the train was at the same station as the one we went to Seward. So
Oh,
I was like, oh,
crap.
I know where we're going already. I don't need to look at the address.
The
We'll get
station
here.
was at the airport,
That station was.
and we Ubered to the airport, and that's actually where the first.
We had all our bags.
Yes, that's yeah. We don't. So I'm very bad at capturing the sheer panic
Yeah.
of situations because, like, I'm holding a camera and then having like all this luggage with me, and then Heather's like, "We got like 15 minutes."
And the elevators were closed because it was like July 2021. So I don't think cruises were happening.
No.
So like that
Yeah.
that hub of that train station was like strictly for cruises. And so it was like closed. So we got there and it was like nobody there. The elevators were closed, so we were like taking our luggage up and down stairs. That's like
Yeah.
a theme with us, is taking our luggage up and down stairs.
Oh gosh.
But and then we like realized this is not the station we're supposed to be at. And so luckily we were there like super early. And so we like went back up the stairs and then Ubered to the correct station and like made the train. But I just remember
Yes.
that moment of overconfidence.
Because that's the thing with a cruise. It's so safe. You literally get out of the airport and go walk. You could walk from the terminal to where the train station is. Like they have a train station, but it's specific to cruises, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So the train station we needed to go to was like on the other side of town.
Yep.
And so we Ubered there.
Like downtown.
And we got there, like everybody.
We were still on time.
Yes,
like,
like-
I don't know. We had to have been so early then.
Yes. We're probably, yeah. And that's the great thing about going places with you, because you're like, we're not doing anything today except for getting to this train station. We have all morning.
Yes.
But that's good because, like, we don't know.
Things like that can
Yes.
happen.
Like,
Yeah.
like those variables in traveling, like you get better at like dealing with them. But
Yeah.
I mean, at first, this is like one of our,
It was only like our second
big
trip like that. Well, I guess third.
Zion, Big Bend.
Big Bend was like a road trip.
It's a road
though.
trip, yeah.
So that's kind of different.
It's easier, yeah.
Yeah. But
Yes. Not that many, like, out of like plane ride type things with luggage, and it's packing with cameras is different. It's like check bags. So, anyways, we made it to the train. But I remember showing up and nobody else had any idea what was going on either. They were just like, well, do we get a ticket? Do we like just
Yeah.
walk up? Like, what do we do? And we figured it out.
yeah.
So yeah, the train ride just as beautiful.
And it was like it was a different route than what we had experienced before. So you got to see like another part of
Yes,
Alaska.
because we're going deeper north into Alaska. Yeah, that was fun. And there were some places that would like just drop people off, like with their bags, and it was like in the middle of nowhere, but there were cabins like deeper in.
Yeah.
Like the train
There's
stopped.
different towns for them to stop in, which was different from the cruise, like
Yeah.
because it was like the cruise train line, so it was like from here to here, no
Yes.
stopping. But this was like a regular train route that like
People going
Alaskans use.
people going to other cities. Just like that's how they get to Anchorage too, somewhere else. But really cool. This is the official Alaska Railroad, right? And where did we? Yeah, then Denali was also kind of confusing. So we arrived to Denali. We're super in the heart of Alaska. What do you call Denali? The heart of Alaska?
I don't know geography very well. I don't know.
Well, it's in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, up there.
Take
So
your word for it.
yeah, we get there, and so there's a front part to Denali, and again, we're not doing the simple package where you can just walk up to something.
Yeah.
You have to ride a train across town, a Uber
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Well, a part of it is because I'm not the kind of person, like as much as I plan, I'm not the kind of person that plans a year in advance, a year and a half in advance, and to get like the reservations for like the places that are really popular, you have to do that.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I chose the place that we stayed, and I'm so happy that we did. Like, it worked out for the best. But I chose the place that we stayed because it was available.
Oh.
like the places that were like at the front of Denali,
That's right.
like when you first get in,
Everybody.
there was no, like, I couldn't get reservations, not for multiple days in a row. And so I could 90 miles into the park.
96.
Yeah, 96, yeah.
And so, yeah, from the park entrance, you go 96 miles in to the park, and that is where we are staying.
At
And
the Skyline Lodge.
Skyline Lodge in Kantishna is what it's
Yeah.
called, because it's the Kantishna air taxi that
Yeah.
there's a bunch of pilots that just take you in. And so we didn't do the bus because it was 6 hours to get there.
We'd already been on a train for like 4.
But the plane ride was one of the coolest introductions to,
Denali that we possibly could have had.
yeah, it was a pretty clear day, but then there was a bunch of clouds around. Okay, let me emphasize how rare it is for people to see Denali.
The mountain.
The
the
actual,
park.
yes,
Yeah.
the big one, tallest mountain in America. So when I remember we were on the train going into Denali, they could see a part of the mountain, the peak.
Yeah.
And they're like, everybody look, and everybody gathers up around the windows, and it's like, oh my gosh, I kind of see it.
But it was still so far away.
But it was far away, and it was very cloudy. I remember because I couldn't see it. I was like, I don't know what they're looking at, but
Yeah.
like people were looking to see Denali. Was it the Great One, as they say, or yes? And I'm so glad that we called it Mount Denali the entire time, because there's another name for Mount Denali that some people use incorrectly. But Denali is its native,
Yeah.
like the real name.
Yeah.
So if you hear Mount McKinley, that is wrong. That's the incorrect term. So anyways, flying in, what was that like?
I don't know if I have like words. Like you're on this like passenger taxi plane, can fit like, I think there was 5 of us including the pilot.
Yes.
And so we all had like a window view, luckily. Wait, no, I think I was in the middle.
It's 2, 2, and 1 in the
2,
back.
2, and 1. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you have a bird's eye view of Denali. So this is like, it's a huge park. I mean, we flew 96 miles into it, and like that's not even the end of it. And so seeing just like, I feel like we got to see all of Denali. Like you're not going to see that like on a bus. I mean, you do, but like from here to here, it's just so like there's mountains, glaciers, rolling green hills, rivers. Like it's just
The glaciers cutting through like the whole park, and yeah. And this was really cool because we flew over the spot where Chris McCandis,
yes,
where he stayed. So this is the guy, also known as
Into the Wild.
Yes, Alexander Supertramp. So he's the guy the movie Into the Wild is based on.
In the book.
In the book, yes, we have that book. It's really cool. But that was the first time I heard that story, and they had the
It
bus.
made me read it, yeah.
The bus he slept in it's like Slaughter River that he crossed. He can only do it a certain time of year because then otherwise it's like too violent, too unstable. But he crossed it one time a year, and he tried to go back, and he couldn't because the river trapped him. And then he unfortunately passed away.
But some people like they had to.
Yes.
They had just recently moved the bus out of there because people had died trying to get to
Go
the bus
to the same spot. Yes,
to like
they
to
had
see.
they had to use a Chinook helicopter.
Yeah.
They said, but yeah, it was like they just moved it because people were dying in the river that is not possible to cross. And because like the summertime, everything's melting, so it's coming off the mountains and making more water go.
Yeah.
But that's when most people would visit and try to go.
Right.
Anyways, heard that story, super cool. First time hearing about it, I was literally flying over the spot. And then we get a little glimpse
Barely
this little glimpse of the mountain, the peak. I mean, it was pretty open, but there were still some clouds
Yeah.
around. And then we land in Kantishna, the Skyline Lodge, and that was really fun because they come up, they're like, "Are you the Lankfords?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Yes," and our bags.
Yeah.
We have
We had a lot of bags.
we
We
were
were there for like 2 weeks.
Yes, it was okay. Like this is the midsection of
And
this
keep
journey.
in mind that one of our bags is always dedicated to camera equipment only. So
That's right.
it's not all clothes.
But camera equipment is important.
Yes.
I guess we could have just done a podcast in the beginning and not done videos, but
No.
if you watch the video, you get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just threw all the bags in like the back of this pickup truck, and then we drove up. They had those a couple of passenger vans, but not everything is like well branded, if you know what I mean. Because like my full-time job is a marketing job, and just seeing all the cars like with the paint peeling off, but it was like their official vehicle, like their pickups with, like
It was like
old stuff.
like cool, laid back.
Yes.
So like I really
Yes.
liked it because the vibe was like different than because we did stay in like a hotel near the front entrance of the park when we were leaving, and that's more like the touristy area, and like it's easy to get around, and it's like more
Like a restaurant.
like uppity, yeah. And like this was like the most like cool, like laid back place, yeah.
Like
It was-
everybody was just happy to be there.
yeah.
We walked in, and the lodge itself is like, it feels like a living room, but it's like their office is right there too.
And because I booked things like a couple months before, our room was like the only room in like the main area. It was like right off the living room.
Yes.
And then it was also like our first time to, it was kind of like a hostel situation where you have like shared bathrooms.
Yes.
And so we had our like room over here, like off the living room area. And then there's like some bathrooms and then a kitchen area downstairs.
Yeah. So there's like literally the couch area. There's like a giant glass windows, so you can just look out into the, beautiful Denali wilderness.
Yeah.
But directly behind those couches is a door, and if you open that door, you can see a bed, which was our bed that we stayed at. So it's just like directly.
Yeah.
If you leave it open, you can see how messy we are.
Yeah.
And so it was that kind of situation. But
Yeah.
and then it goes downstairs, and there's like a breakfast hall, and there's like a bunch of big tables, but they had just like a cook that lived there.
I
And
guess, yeah.
she had to have.
Yeah.
I mean,
because your like meals were included and provided for you.
yeah. Imagine that
It's
commute.
like a B&B.
If you didn't live there, like your commute would be 6 hours.
96 mile plane ride
Yeah.
in. Probably not. Yeah.
So yeah, she lived there, but and it was, you didn't get to pick what you got. I was okay.
I
with
did
that,
it. They
but-
did do some specialty things for me because of my allergies.
Oh yeah, you were
So,
you're allergic to nuts
but
and
yeah.
stuff. So, but that's that's understandable. And then they packed our lunches for us. Yeah, these
little
little.
sack lunches.
And
hiking.
so in the summertime, the sun goes down at 2 a.m. or something, and
Yeah.
it doesn't even really get really dark because it comes back up at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's really night, quote unquote, for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
But it really just looks like the twilight.
Right.
Period, yeah.
You still have light. Yeah.
So the curtains had to be pretty thick in our room, is what I'm saying, because they like blacked everything out because like when you go to sleep.
Well, but I liked that because it was like we're there. It helps me not sleep, if that makes sense, because like
Well,
you're there to like
yes.
experience
Right.
Alaska and like go on as many hikes as you can and go on as many little like adventures as you can. So I liked that the sun, it was like, okay, you sleep for like 5, maybe 6 hours because it's like, okay, we're going to get up and go.
Yeah, it's lights out at 2 a.m. and then the alarm is set for 4 a.m. So you.
No, it wasn't.
But yeah, a lot of daylight to work with.
Yeah.
And so we didn't do anything the first
No,
day because it was
we just
already
kind of
getting
walked
dark.
around the lodge. Like the lodge itself is like beautiful. Has like this beautiful balcony area
Yes.
over, and you can see like a river and all the like mountains and
And there was another couple there that was like close to our age. So we
Yeah.
literally like would look at each other at the dinner, whatever, and we're like, "Can we sit with y'all?" Because y'all are like our age.
Yeah.
Because everybody else
it
was
makes sense for us to
a little
hang out.
older. But yeah, so we hung out with
Eugene and Susie, yeah.
They had the bug zappers outside, and I just remember like Susie waving the mosquito
All the
thing
mosquitoes
around.
away, yeah.
Just shocking everything.
Yeah, but we got to know them like at dinner time, I think,
yeah.
And then we were like, oh, they're cool.
Yes.
We like them.
But
But it was still one of those things where it's like, are we going to hang out at all after this? Like, we have our own itineraries and stuff that we want to do. So, like we'll see you at dinner, but...
Yeah, when 4 a.m. hits, we're hitting the trail. So,
yeah.
And that is we're at the breakfast table the next day.
Yeah.
And talking with a couple that had already been there like for a couple days.
A couple of days, yeah.
And so they are like, "Oh, we did Wickersham Dome." And it's the easiest hike. Like we were like, well, what do we do?
Yeah. The part that leads to Wickersham Dome, the Quigley Ridge was like the easy one.
Yeah. Easy. But it was not.
So like Texas easy and Alaska easy or North easy is different because it takes like a level 1 hike in Texas or easy hike in Texas is literally like paved. Like wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
And then an easy hike in Alaska and like in like northern states that we've been is like you're going to have some inclines that are kind of significant.
Well, I must emphasize we are not on cruise rules anymore at all because a level 3 hike with a cruise was a level 1 hike in Texas.
True. Very true.
And so we were like, it said easy, but it was literally on like a hand-drawn map, like somebody drew it.
Yeah.
I have a picture of it somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was a rough sketch, and I don't know north.
There's no switchbacks. It's like you just go up. You're just going up.
Yes.
And like I mean it wasn't like it was doable. We're not mountain climbing. You know, maybe that's a hard level hike. Is like literally scaling Denali.
Probably.
But it wasn't easy, and we were like in decent shape at the time too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I got the directions wrong at first.
Yeah.
And then...
That's all right. We got turned around and on the right path. And then we got up to like this top, like this clearing, and Denali was like close to being clear. Like there was just a very few clouds like floating around it. And so you got yourself set up for a time lapse to hope, because the clouds were probably going to go away and we see the mountain in its full glory. And then the mosquitoes were unbearable. Like, no, it was not. We had to like pack up and literally run away. Like I was sprinting on the trail.
I think you're tearing up now thinking about it.
It's because I choked on my spit a little bit.
Okay. You didn't have to say that. But yeah, it does get you a little choked up thinking about the mosquitoes. Because they were worse than ever.
It was really
worse than Anchorage, because they don't.
really bad.
I'm sure Anchorage has some sort of chemical that they spray or something and try to get rid of some of them. Denali has no such thing. Like nobody's gonna go and treat a like the trail was barely even a trail. It was just like the last time somebody hiked on this was like I don't know.
Well,
last year, but I mean, not many.
Like the trail is like not very wide. Like these trails are pretty narrow, like one person at a time.
Yeah, but they're hard to identify too.
Yeah, because
all the grass was growing up, and but just not a lot of most trails in national parks within the,
yeah.
Was that contiguous United States? What's that called? The lower
48. I don't think contiguous.
What is that word? Okay,
continuous?
No, I don't know.
Anyways, yeah.
That I didn't say anything.
Okay.
But like those trails, like they literally have signs that some national parks, it's like, hey, don't hike here because we're trying to
True.
let the grass grow back. Or
Yeah, there was
whatever.
no markers on this trail. Like how we found it was like
A rock.
a rock. Like
There's
they're like turn right at the rock.
Yes, you'll know the rock when you see it, and it's like, all right,
Yeah,
that's good.
like their trails were not marked.
And it was just looked like it was off the trail because there was another way to go that was like
Yes,
sort of a
on
gravel
the gravel area
road, but it didn't
I was
take
like,
you
that's
to.
not fun.
But it didn't take you to Quigley Ridge.
Right.
So we kind of
Because I was like,
diverted.
oh, I want to do Quigley Ridge to Wickersham Dome because that's like 2 hikes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we took the longer way to a more scenic viewpoint, and it takes us a little high, not as high as Wickersham Dome, but maybe halfway. And so it kind of just goes up. It's a ridge, and then it comes back down.
Yeah.
Um,
But we did reach a clearing where the mosquitoes
and
cleared
yes,
off.
and that was the top of the ridge where it was more breezy and less grass was growing everywhere. But yeah, that did make me sad because literally a time lapse was interrupted because the mosquitoes was
It
just
was
so bad.
unbearable,
Like
yeah.
Heather was trying to pace away. She's just
I did try.
trying not to lose your cool, but you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I just can't.
I'm not the kind of girl that's like, ooh, spider. Like I can handle it, but it was not okay.
No, it wasn't. So got up and left, and let's see. Yeah, we got to the top of Quigley Ridge, then we stopped for lunch because it was a nice reprieve. Because once we started going back down, mosquitoes might show up again or something.
Yeah.
So we go down, and then that's the start of like the Wickersham Dome, like actual
Straight up.
hike. Yes, no switchbacks at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
You just go straight up, and you literally like stand, and you're at an angle as you're like resting because it's so steep. You're just like, I can't like sit down, and so there were parts where you're just too tired, but you also had to stand
Just
awkwardly.
steady yourself. Yeah.
Yes, but we did see a gopher, a little cute thing that just looked at us, and that was like the first wildlife
We saw.
we saw. No moose in Anchorage, and so then
We did see a lot of like bear poop.
Oh yes.
A lot of bear poop because
Well,
I was
yes.
so scared we were gonna run because the trails were like trails less traveled and like really tall, big bushes all around, and so I was convinced that we were gonna run into a bear just with how wild Denali is.
Yes. Okay. So there's a trend, I don't know, myth that you're supposed to walk around with bells on your backpack when going into bear country. But they say the bears call those dinner bells because they are very curious as to what that noise is. So if you have bells on your backpack hiking on a trail, they don't identify that as like an animal.
A human, yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I want to see what that is. I don't know.
But if you're just like yelling and singing, like that's my strategy.
Heather just screeches the
sing.
entire hike.
I just sing to the bears during the hike because they recognize that that's a human voice and are more likely to stay away.
Yeah, or we just like.
So they say.
Or we just
That's what I've
talked
heard.
the whole time.
Yeah, that's true. But it would like get quiet. Like there'd be like a quiet lull, and then so I'm just like start singing.
Yes. But that is important. We did have bear spray with us packed.
Well, they gave you it.
Oh,
at the
right. They
lodge.
made you take it. Yeah. Yeah, they had a bunch of them, a bunch of little canisters at the door. So I wanted to say, when we were at Skyline Lodge, one of the stories I heard was there was a woman staying at the lodge, and this just happened recently before we had gotten there, but she was on a trail, and then it started getting dark. And so she was turning around, but then where she came from, there was a bear like sleeping on the trail. And so it's like, what do you do? Do you just like, she waited a long time.
Yeah.
But then the bear was just sleeping. So she got off the trail, and then it was like darker nighttime. So she was lost off the trail.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, she had to have been far enough to like get lost too. But they said she was missing for like 3 days.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then they were like, oh yeah, we were wondering where she was. Like,
Yeah.
you wander off into the woods, and they're like, oh crap. But like, you
Yeah.
don't see them.
Yeah.
We don't have radios. They don't like have that kind of communication with us. And it's like, I don't know, maybe half a dozen staff members there, including the cooks and the pilots and the host guy.
Yeah, and they're like kind of keeping track of you, but you also like have some independence. Because, like, one night we were out really late,
Yes.
and then they were like, oh, yeah, we weren't sure where you were or whatever, but it's like, it's kind of like
Come and go.
you're on your own,
Mm-hmm.
which is like I appreciate that because it is kind of like sometimes in those instances where it just feels like very Disney World-esque.
So we passed through two Disney Worlds,
Yeah.
basically, with the cruise stuff, and then the
Right.
front of the park.
And it's like, you're on your
Yes.
own.
So, yeah, the front of the park is the touristy
Yeah.
side, but yeah, this is not.
You just got to be careful, be safe. Yeah.
Like, to get a room,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you have to know, but it was literally like rooms in Denali National Park, and it was this, and then you just booked it, and it was like
It was available.
the hardcore thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but bears are a serious deal all over the place. Summertime, they're not hibernating; they're just walking around.
Yeah.
So, Wickersham Dome started up, going up, resting at angles. We saw a gopher, and then at the very tippy top, we saw
Not Denali.
not Denali because the
It was
clouds
covered.
rolled in because the mosquitoes ruined that for us. But we saw Eugene and Susie up there, and so they were like, "Oh, we're just waiting for Denali to."
Maybe show up.
And so they're like, "We saw it a little bit earlier, but they were like, I think behind Quigley Ridge because they took like a different way, so they like missed that first sort of opening of Denali. But this, once we were at the high, of course, the best angle to see it, this clouds were already covering it up.
They were thick.
Yeah, so they say it's a less than 30% chance, like on average, on your average visit, like 3 out of every 10 people who visit, I guess, would see
it without clouds. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we go back down. I remember it feeling super nice, like the breeze, like coming off between. It's like, so there's Quigley Ridge that comes up and comes down. Wickersham Dome that goes up really high. It's like 3,000 feet in elevation, I think.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of other like ridges and hills and stuff.
And we came back down with Eugene and Susie
Yes.
because then at that point we were like, okay, we're friends. This isn't a fluke.
Yes. And he made a Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah.
So
So good.
Yeah.
Good people out there. But it was fun that we didn't like plan a hike, but we ended up doing the same thing, and then we hung out even more.
yeah, because I secretly like wanted to be their friend. Yeah, it worked out.
So that was pretty much all we did that day.
Yeah, yeah, and then we just stayed up late because I think that was their last night. That was their last night
Yes.
there. And then they were taking the bus the next day.
So how many days were we there?
I guess it was like 3 nights.
Yeah.
So kind of like two full days, and then like getting there on the plane, and then the bus ride out.
So this was our first full day.
Yeah.
And we just did Wickersham, and that was an all day thing.
It was, yeah.
Very long. And then the next day, we want to go to Wonder Lake, and it's spelled Wander, Wonder. Wonder. And so there was a guy,
Yeah, one of the
staff
workers, yeah.
members. He was really cool, but we were like, "Hey, can we get a ride to like the Wonder Lake thing? Because we could walk, but I think you were supposed to like. I think he took us there as like a favor, sort
Courtesy.
of, because they don't have to like give you rides because some people walked down there. Oh, you can get a bike.
Yeah.
And bike around the trails.
Yeah, but I have trouble with bikes because of my broken tailbone.
And you're short.
Mostly the tailbone, but yeah.
Well, So yeah, you could just pull a bike off this rack. They had racks of bikes there, and you could ride it. But we rode a car, which was nice. It's like,
But he took us to like a secret trail to see Denali.
Because he like. It was, all trails are kind of secret around there because they're not like obvious, but he was like, yeah, just walk up here and follow along this ridge and you get a good view of Denali and the lake and the mountains and stuff.
But it wasn't on the trail.
No.
And you literally had to like bushwhack your whole way through it.
Was it on the map?
Yeah, I don't think it was on the map.
Okay. You said it wasn't on the trail.
Oh.
Yeah.
The trail wasn't on the map, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But you had to like use your arms to like move the bushes.
Yeah,
out of the
it's
way.
swimming.
Like you could see that there was a trailer, but it was just yeah.
That's where your high school swimming came in handy. Just wading
Yeah.
through. Yeah, that was hard. I remember that was difficult.
It was just because it was a lot of work
Yeah,
to get through it.
and then you're just going like
It was straight up again.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
It wasn't. I mean, it definitely wasn't as long as the other one. Like it was a pretty short, little stint, but it was
steep grade.
yeah.
But then it cleared on this ridge, and you didn't really have a whole lot of room to like sit down or anything. It was kind of, you can if you were to sit down, I couldn't pass
Get
you.
around me. Yeah.
But we hung out there, and Denali was clear, and so I got just sat down, and we just did a bunch of time lapses and hung
And
out
just watched
up
it.
there because it overlooks Wonder Lake, and then Denali above it, and then a whole range of mountains all along, to your left, and
I don't even think we talked the whole time. We just were like
probably not.
taking it in because it was incredible. Yeah.
That was cool. And you said, I don't think I need to say it. It speaks for itself whenever we saw
yeah.
everything. Oh, you say that. I got you saying that in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speechless. Very serene, tranquil. And so we go back down.
And then we just scooted around Wonder Lake.
Yes. And that was cool. I really wanted to see a moose drinking from, that was,
You always get greedy with your shots.
well, yeah. But that was my goal. Because I remember seeing a photo at some place we were at, like maybe the train station or something. But it was like a moose, the mountain clear, and the lake, like all three.
Yeah.
And so I just looked around, but we didn't see anything. So,
No.
but that was still cool. Then we go back. And then, this is the plane ride. So Denali was still clear at this point?
Well, it had like covered back up
Oh,
before we went back
right.
down.
Because Wonder Lake, that's what made us come down from that ridge, was it got covered. Yeah. And then we went to Wonder Lake and it was covered. But then, coming back, it was clear again.
Or it was like about to be. Yeah.
And so, like, the pilots all know how weather works and all that. So they were saying, like, hey, should be clear. Do you want to go on a, I don't know, maybe a plane ride around the mountain? Because
And we didn't have anything else like planned either.
And I remember asking how common Denali being this clear for this long was with one of the guys who gave us a ride. And he said, weather this nice, probably less than 1%. I remember him saying that. Like, because, oh gosh. I don't know if you heard.
O'Malley just made a weird noise.
O'Malley is.
He's really sleepy and
Yeah.
he's just like making sleepy noises.
Yes.
Okay.
So, anyways,
Big yawn.
we're working here. So yeah, Denali having its own weather system, right? Like it's very unpredictable.
Yeah.
So the pilot's like, we'll see what we can do. Like, we might just be able to pass by it or something. But no, the weather was great. So we got to go completely 360 around Denali. And what was that like?
I cried. Like, it was just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know how, it's just, I don't have words for it. It was amazing, but I mean, like, that doesn't do it justice. Obviously.
Like nature's constantly putting on a show for us, but you just have to be in attendance in order to see it, right? There's no admission. I mean, the cost is getting to the place, right?
Yeah.
But it's unpredictable. It's
On
just
what's
like,
gonna happen,
I'm
yeah.
going to do this whenever I want.
Yeah, it just felt like I was aware of how lucky we were to be in that moment, because not only are we seeing Denali clear, but we're in a freaking plane flying around the mountain, like seeing it 360 degrees all the way around, not a cloud in the sky. Yeah, just very aware of like how beautiful and like lucky that moment was for us to have experienced.
One thing I noticed was the pilots were very excited for me because I'm carrying all this camera stuff around. They're like, he must be somewhat serious about this. Like,
Yeah.
he might care a little because he's willing to do this
Right.
crap. And I was just like, had all my stuff, and they're like, yeah, let's get you on a plane. And so the pilot, as we went around the mountain, we were all talking on headsets, and he was telling me when he's going to rock the plane. So inside of the plane, it's kind of a smaller window, right? And
Yeah.
being a camera, you want the widest angle possible, but
Right.
I would see the top of the window or the bottom, and it wasn't exactly, smudge free.
Yeah.
So
You were also using your trusty bucket hat to like help with the glare
reduce
from the
glare,
window. Yeah.
because it was middle of the day, sun shining,
Yeah.
reflections, all that.
Yeah, and you
Yes.
can't really like roll down the window in a plane
No.
to get a good shot.
So yeah. But yeah, he was timing it with, he would be like 1, 2, 3, and then he would tilt up, and so I would just hold the camera steady and let him do the looking, like the movement of the plane was how fast we were like
Yeah.
tilting up with the camera too. So that was really cool though. Like he understood. He was like, I'm gonna try to work with this guy, and I didn't ask him anything. Like whenever I go, I don't really ask people
No.
to do anything again. I didn't ask the
We
helicopter.
try not to be like those people.
The helicopter pilot appreciated that when it was time to go, I was already like landed the
Yeah.
drone. Like I am respectful, but I bring everything.
Just in case.
I try to arrive
Yeah.
for the show, right?
Yeah.
But not intrude and interrupt anybody else's experience.
Moment. Exactly.
Well, mainly you. I'm scared.
Mostly me, yeah, because I will get upset if, yeah.
Well, that's just not
ruined.
fair because that's how I experience the things, right? I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to record this, make a video out of it. And you're like, just let me be present with this thing. So if I'm like, Heather, can you turn around like in slow motion?
Yeah.
Back at the camera, and you're like, I'm looking at this mountain, buddy. Yeah. So we don't do that sort of stuff. It's like each experiencing it in our own way. So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was just like the people at the Skyline Lodge were just they were exceptional. Like they were so nice, so accommodating. But like not in a weird culty like Disney World type of way, because I've experienced that too, where it's like, okay, well they're definitely just like being nice because
They were just happy with their
you paid
life.
$1 million to be here, but it's like they were just seemed like so happy, and they were like super nice. And yeah, I could tell that like when we first showed up, they were kind of like scoping us out, like, are they annoying because you show up with all this camera gear and your bucket hat, and people look at us and they're like, oh gosh, here they come. And then I like to think that we usually don't actually have that impression upon getting to know us further. But like it's like whenever they realize that, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll be nice to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. They were just happy with their lives. The guy that gave us a ride as a courtesy, he like lived in his car, sort of, kind of like he lived there, right? But like there's a group of people,
Like nomadic.
and they literally work in Alaska. They travel to different places.
And they go to like Florida in the
Yes.
winter. Like it is a lifestyle that I don't know that I could do it, but I appreciate it, and I can definitely see how that like brings fulfillment to people.
There's a website called coolworks.com. Coolworks.com. Not sponsored, but it seems pretty
We've
cool.
heard about it on our
Yes.
travels.
But yeah, you just pick up national parks jobs for summer or something, and you travel wherever. They pay for a place to stay
Yeah.
most of the time. Some of the time, not everywhere. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Never done it, but anyways,
Yeah.
that is neat. So
But yeah.
that
We got back, and then We tried
Oh my
to get the
gosh.
moose at the river.
Because we had heard that
Yeah.
a moose was near the airstrip, which was a walk from the Skyline Lodge down,
Like
and
later in the evening. So later in the evening too, like the sun's still out. It was probably like 10 p.m. So like it's kind of late, but like it feels and looks like 4 p.m.
I mean, even by midnight, there's still some sun
Oh yeah, there's
showing.
plenty of sun. Yeah.
So, yeah, we didn't see a moose. That's okay.
Yeah.
I was literally
But we
like
tried.
at this one spot where the sun was hitting this river,
Set
and
up just hoping.
yeah, I was like, "There's gonna be a moose and the baby silhouetted against
Yep.
all this," and I waited around, and that's like a weird thing I do because I'm like, "This
It
has to
doesn't
happen."
bother me because when
Yeah.
you do that, it like allows for me those like moments of like we can just sit here and like take in what's happening. Like you were like setting up for that, and I knew that we were gonna be stationed there for a while, so I'm just like walking around along the river,
You're just playing with
collecting
rocks.
rocks,
Yeah.
and like just
So
taking everything in.
yeah, but that makes sense too because we waited at Denali, like that one viewpoint because I was doing so many time lapses, and
I'm like I can be
yeah.
here for a long time.
So that's what we mean by we enjoy the moments differently, but somehow it works out. Yeah, because I'm there for the stuff, the nature and everything, Yeah, but no moose. And we tried to walk to the actual airstrip where somebody had like taken a photo with their phone. But again, the mosquitoes, the trees
did
were a
us
little
in.
higher up and there was no wind. And so it's like, was at the point where
You're
ca-
like beating them off.
you
like,
can't
with,
help but panic.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you're don't want to breathe
It's like
them
hard
in.
to breathe. Yeah.
And then you spray a little.
I was just spraying my face dead on, just
Yeah.
like spraying my body with
Yeah.
the bug spray, face, everything. And then you're like spraying out into the air, just like hoping it gets some of
But then
them.
there's just a cloud of them floating above your
Yeah.
head, and it's
Yep.
terrifying. It was scary.
So we made our way back to the lodge, and
Yes.
they were like celebrating because one of the pilot's sons, right,
Got his license.
had just like got his license. So they were like celebrating that on the
pilot's license.
pilot's license, yeah. And they were like celebrating on like the back deck, but we were like in the main part of the lodge, and so they were like, "Sorry, like, are we disturbing you?"
Because it was like midnight.
It was like midnight, yeah, and we were like, "No, like we just got back."
They're like, oh, okay, yeah. But it's because our room was like right next to the living area,
Yeah.
so we could hear them. Because it was almost a closet, just stuffed in there with a bed.
I didn't care. It was.
I mean, yeah, it was fine. We got back at midnight. It's not like we were wanting to sleep. So that was our last night, though. And then
Well, I feel like this has probably been like the time that we've been recording for podcasts.
okay,
So I think this probably is
nice.
a 4-parter. This
Good.
being part 2, and then the second half of that trip being part 3, and then Northern Lights, Alaska, part 4. Yeah.
But wait, one more thing.
Oh, okay.
The most important part about this visit to Denali,
Okay.
Lucky.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought up Lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Who was he?
So Lucky was one of the pilots, big old white English lab, and he was just like living his best life, and he was super sweet. And so, yeah, I probably spent like half my time there just like following him around and petting him.
Yes. That's actually how most of our day was spent.
But yeah, he was super sweet and precious.
He would just lay around and
Yeah.
just let you pet him.
He was so like I want like a white English lab now, which we already have lab, but
Yeah, he's noisy enough. You get 2 dogs in here, they're going to be running the podcast.
yeah. But English labs are just like so like short and chubby and cute, and they got their big old head.
They are.
Anyways,
So yeah, that's the end of Denali.
not technically, but
Well,
the end of
we'll start with leaving Denali and what that's
Okay.
like and everything else. Next episode. So tune in next time on the Go There Do That podcast. I know we had a brief intermission with me there, but we're back to Alaska, and I think we're going to run it through
Yeah.
to the end.
Yeah, because there's still more to say about Denali.
Yes.
And then Seward and Kenai Fjords.
That's all. Stay healthy, be good people, be nice, love yourself, love the world, all that. And also don't listen to me, because I'm wrong about most stuff.
No.
See ya. So long. Goodbye. It's going to cut. at
Okay,
certain
before
point.
this probably.
I think,
hope.
yeah.
Okay.